Now, let's start with the first jury panel. I would like to talk about two of the most popular nomination categories, onboarding experience and unified enterprise developer portals. And for this, I'm calling to the stage three of our jurors, Renisha Jayan, Marco Spinello, and Ryan Clifford. And in the meantime, so this onboarding experience category, it serves as the foundational benchmark for usability. I have a too small screen. For usability, focusing squarely on the journey of a brand new user. The fundamental goal the jury assessed was how effectively a portal guides a developer from their initial entry point to achieving a hello world or an equivalent success of integration. And the evaluation criteria held nominees to an exceptionally high standard. We demanded that the onboarding experience has to be entirely self-contained. If a portal required users to collect information from external sites, the experience was considered actually broken, leading to lower scores. The highest score was reserved for portals where the user could evaluate the API's worth without a compulsory login, or encountering an overly onerous marketing-focused process. And I would like to address my first question to Marco. Was there a small detail or moment that really made you think, wow, this is a genuinely welcoming experience for developers or users? If you could speak directly to the teams, like what would you thank them for?
Hi, Laura, and hi, everybody. Thank you for the question. And two things, actually, I can think of. First, how normal and how more and more portals have incorporated, for example, very easy ways to transition to Postman collections. A couple of years ago, you had to download the collection and they import it into your Postman. And now they're just running Postman, for example. Or they integrate code playground like code sandbox, for example, directly in the developer portal. These are really non-trivial improvements that cut some clicks, and developers always like to click as little as possible and to get their hands dirty as quickly as possible. And especially these two functionalities that I just mentioned really reduce friction and make it a lot easier to use the documentation really as a tool that you look up quickly for reference while you're already building something or getting an API hooked up or making some calls. The second thing that I noticed is that I didn't really do in-depth accessibility testing on the sites, but since I'm very biased in favor of accessibility, I just played around a little bit with screen readers and keyboard navigation, and most sites are really easy to navigate also with screen readers and with keyboard navigation. There's not a lot of extra ARIA tagging that is included, which is good, and which means that many sites also, as a result of the European Accessibility Act that went live last June, and the drive to make content AI friendly, many sites have good structure, have a good hierarchy, and make the information easy to parse and navigate. I'm really grateful for the effort that all the participants put into this.
I think we agree there very much. And meanwhile, the core principle guiding the jury's evaluation for an excellent federated portal experience was the portal's success in masking immense internal complexity to present a cohesive, unified external face. Portals that fail this test often look like they are simply linking to a different, disparate departments, making the user feel like they're entering just another company. The highest praise here went to those portals that were demonstrating the maturity and organization necessary to ensure consistency down into the content, ensuring that the disparate parts, which are often covering multiple domains, such as, for example, banking, cloud storage, or telecom, sometimes you have huge companies, that they still appear uniform. In evaluating what constitutes excellence today in both of these categories, the jury observed a bit of a tension between established foundational execution and some emerging technological exploration. The benchmark for superior quality this year, therefore, hinged largely on the robust information architecture and findability. Still, the strongest nominees excelled not through razzle-dazzle, but by making navigation predictable and providing clear access points. Arenisha, can I ask the next question from you? From a process and a coordination perspective, what impressed you about how enterprise portals make complex systems feel coherent?
Thank you, Laura. And hello, everyone. For me, what really stood out were the portals that made incredibly complex systems feel simple and comfortable to navigate. These teams are, like, one thing we have to always remember is that these teams are juggling with different business units, different APIs, API types, in fact, and sometimes years of legacy decisions. Yet, the user never feels any of it. The experience feels steady, familiar, and predictable from one section to the next. And that actually ties into something I really believe in. There is no such thing as a perfect information architecture, yet like every structure has its trade-offs. What matters is that once you have chosen a structure, what the strongest nominees built into it is consistency, and made sure that when you move, learn to move from one part of the portal, that knowledge helps you to navigate through the rest. That kind of familiarity actually does not appear magically. It comes from the level of coordination it took behind the scenes to achieve that kind of a unified portal. Teams must align on shared guidelines, common navigation patterns, and consistent terminology. Actually, you can really feel when teams are talking to each other and making intentional choices about these guidelines, templates, and terminology. And you can also feel when they are thinking ahead. The portals that which impressed me most were the ones which were also designed for scale. They created an architecture that can grow along with the complex, your product landscape. So for me, what was impressive was seeing how much behind the scene collaboration went into creating that perfect, seamless developer experience that feels almost effortless. So it is not magic or like a shortcut formula. It's like disciplined processes, clear ownership, long-term thinking. So you can also see that different stakeholders have come together and create put thought into it. So like whatever seems simple, there's so much thought behind the scenes.
Thank you. And Ryan, when you looked across all the nominees, what stood out to you about how teams are shaping the starting point experience? And if you could give gentle advice or encouragement, what might you offer them?
I think what's, first of all, really interesting about being involved in this again is to see the transformation of how the industry around DevPortals is changing. And that kind of comes through with the onboarding. And something that really stuck out to me this time was looking at, I guess, the personas. Now, previously, we may have only focused on a technical persona. And then a couple of years ago, we saw kind of technical and business personas, and they were very separated, and you'd have separate journeys for it. But now I see that there's this kind of emergence of a barrier of entry that's lowering around technical products. When you think about the world now with everything around AI, it's making it more accessible for non-tech people, for example, to get involved with these types of products. So I think the thing that kind of was standing out for me was those portals who have an onboarding experience which caters for kind of a real mix of audiences. You can, you can layer it up in terms of how technical you want to dive into. And those are the ones which were really starting to stand out. And I think it's future-proofing where we'll be going in the future as well. Especially when you start to think, at the moment, you might go to a portal, but you already see agentic experiences happening where people may be interacting with MCPs and AI agents. So they might not actually see your portal and the design that you've made, but they're interacting with your content. So I think that's super interesting and fundamental to onboarding. And then what you see throughout is maybe those little features which are really nice, that enhance the experience. Like I remember one that stood out to me, where you had the written information step by step, but you also had a video and it had the right timing as well. So it was really easy to be like, oh, I'm interested in that step. I've got written content, but I've also got a video there. I can now quickly get my information. That would work for me as a user going direct to your site, but then probably also an AI agent as well. So a few things that came out this year.
Thank you. So my next question would have been to all of you, what kind of trends would you highlight? But you actually already answered these questions, so let me turn this around a little bit. What kind of anti-patterns, if you could gently say, like, maybe it's time to leave that behind. Marco.
Anti-patterns. Well, an anti-pattern is that I notice less and less is making assumptions. As for example, Ryan pointed out, there's more and more attention to really cater to different audiences in with content and language that is appropriate for those specific audiences, and to keep as much complexity as possible under the hood until it is either necessary because of the learning path or the goal of the user, or until the user explicitly requests to say, show me this thing. I know it's complex, but I can handle it. There's a couple of portals that did that particularly well. For example, hiding the complexity without dumbing down the content.
Renisha, do you have something in mind that you would love to see next year?
There are a couple of things, but I think, as Ryan also said, is that the barrier to non-technical audience is reducing, and I have seen that in few portals, but there are some portals still especially the barrier seems slightly high. When you see it, especially you need either in-depth domain knowledge or the product knowledge to even go through it. So I would like to see that kind of barrier coming down, so that it is not just easy for non-technical audience also, but today we are also catering to LLMs and all. So the information is there is less confusion and hallucination. So I hope that next year, people would not just spell it out everything, so that people do not have to guess.
Right.
I think two things come to mind for me. One is around naming. I really liked, and we've seen this, where people name their products really simply, and you know what it is. I know sometimes it's tempting to go down a marketing route and name them in fancy ways, or something that unifies, or you stick a word like fusion in front of everything. That just overcomplicates it sometimes. So I like seeing naming things what they are. And the second one that I would like to see less and less of is gated content or gated API references or things like that, because I understand maybe in the past you might be fearful of I don't want all my API designs out there. What about if competitors start to look and then like start to replicate? But actually, if I think about where things are going, it's less about like stealing an API design. It's going to be like, how well can you work in this new world with agentic experiences? For example, if your content's gated, it's just going to make it harder for a consumer to consume your product. So I like to think of put your things out there. This is public APIs, share it out there, and it will probably, as long as it's designed well, it will be hard for others to copy.
Thank you very much, and thank you for humoring me with putting you on a spot with this last question that required some diplomacy. But this is necessary. I think we can all learn from both from patterns recommended and anti-patterns that are advised to avoid. So thank you very much for all of you, and I hope to see more of the recommended patterns that you were talking about appearing in